The real names have been hidden to preserve the privacy of the person involved in this story. So let's call her Mary. Mary was one of those people who seemed to have the perfect life. Her social media? Always with smiles, motivational phrases, photos in beautiful places, thanks to the universe. Everything impeccable. Anyone looking from the outside thought, wow, she is so enlightened, so grateful, so happy. But what no one knew was that behind those filters, there was a pain that was silently growing. Inside, Mary was in pieces. She didn't show it, not even for the family, not even for friends, because, according to her, feeling pain was vibrating wrong, and she had learned, at some point, that complaining was expressing the worst. So she learned to smile even though she was bleeding. He learned to write beautiful sentences while his chest imploded. He learned to be grateful for things he didn't really feel. Because I was afraid. Afraid that if I said it was bad, everything would be even worse. Mary the First believed I needed to pretend to be well so that life would get better. Fake it until it's real, they said. But the more she forced positivity, the more everything crumbled around her. Her relationships became empty, superficial. Her friends began to move away, as if something in her energy repelled them without explanation. Money started to disappear, small unforeseen events, unexpected expenses, debts appearing as if the universe was turning its back. And still she posted. She smiled. She said, everything is flowing perfectly. But at night, on the pillow, no one saw it. The tears she hid, the anxiety that tightened her chest, the lump in her throat that prevented her from breathing. She asked herself, what am I doing wrong? I'm being positive. I'm believing. Why is my life falling apart? What Mary didn't know, and maybe you don't know either, is that the universe doesn't respond to what you show it. It responds to what you really vibrate. And that false light she was trying to emit wasn't light. It was fear disguised as faith. It was control disguised as delivery. And behind that smile, there was a silent echo of pain. Have you ever felt this way? Pretending to be fine so as not to attract the worst? Trying to maintain the right vibe when in reality, everything inside you just wants to cry? Right here in the comments. I've also smiled hiding the pain. This is not weakness. It's human. And maybe it's the first step to understanding what is really creating your reality. Stay with me until the end of this video. Mary's story will show you something that no one talks about. And if this content has already touched a little of what you experience, leave a like and subscribe to the channel now. This helps us spread this hidden truth that can change lives. Mary continued to publish phrases about gratitude, self-love, and spiritual evolution. In stories, she shared her routines with energizing teas, manifestation journals, crystals, and powerful affirmations. For those watching from the outside, she was an example. Mary is so inspiring, they said. But what no one saw was the weight she carried when she turned off her cell phone. The void. The exhaustion of pretending a vibration that didn't exist. Inside, Mary felt lost. She read self-help books, took spirituality courses, meditated every day. But something didn't add up. The feeling was that everything she did was in vain. Nothing seemed to work for a long time. Whenever I started to improve financially, something happened and the money disappeared. I met someone, thought it would finally be a healthy relationship, and ended up alone, again, with the same pain in my chest. Everything seemed like an endless cycle. And the strangest thing? The more she forced herself to get high, the more the universe brought her to her knees. People around her began to notice a different glow about her, but it wasn't a glow of light. It was as if his eyes glowed with a desperate effort to keep everything under control. Mary was smiling, but the smile no longer had life. It was like an automatic button. At parties, she was the one who said everything is okay, even when she could barely breathe. And when someone asked if everything was okay, she responded with that old mantra, I'm great, I just need to keep the vibe up. But inside, she was sinking. He started having anxiety attacks, unexplained body pain, and frequent insomnia. Even so, he avoided talking about it. If I say I'm bad, I'll attract more of this, I thought. So she kept everything. Pretending has become his armor. But the universe is not deceived by words. It listens to the real frequency. The breaking point came on a seemingly ordinary morning. Mary woke up with a suffocating feeling. Chest tight, a lump in the throat. She sat on the bed and began to cry uncontrollably. No reason. Or maybe, for all the accumulated reasons. For a life that made no sense. For the failed attempts. For for spirituality that didn't seem to work, for the feeling of failure hidden behind every "I'm fine," for the loneliness of not being able to be who she really was. That day, something inside her screamed, a pain that could no longer be ignored. That was when, by chance or not, she heard a phrase in a random video, in the middle of the feed. "You don't vibrate what you say. You vibrate what you feel in silence." That sentence hit her like thunder. At that moment, everything made sense. All the years of forced positivity, all the days of trying to appear strong, all the mantras spoken in fear, now revealed themselves as part of the problem, not the solution. Her mind was trying to command, but her heart screamed a pain that was not heard. And that's when the universal laws begin to act silently, reflecting not what we want, but what we really carry. Mary didn't know yet, but she was about to discover what really creates reality. And it wasn't what she thought. And you? Have you ever had a moment when everything seemed right on the outside, but on the inside, it was like something was broken? Have you ever tried to keep your head up, even when your heart wanted to shrink into a corner and disappear? Have you ever looked in the mirror saying positive phrases, trying to convince yourself that everything was fine, while feeling like nothing made sense? Maybe you are going through this right now, or it already happened, and you never managed to explain to anyone what you felt. Mary believed she was the problem, that he wasn't expressing it correctly, that perhaps I was less spiritual because I still felt sadness, fear, anger, tiredness. She compared herself to other people who seemed to be flowing, people who said they were co-creating miracles while she was only accumulating disappointments. And every time she felt pain, guilt came. "I can't feel like this. It'll lower my vibration." So she suppressed it, swallowed, disguised. And every time she did that, she moved even further away from herself. The truth is that there are many people living exactly like this, placing an energetic filter over the pain, believing that you will only be loved, accepted, or rewarded by the universe if you are vibrating high. But the universe does not demand perfection. He doesn't expect you to always be light. It only responds to your actual frequency, and that includes the part of you that cries in secret, the part that is afraid of failing, the part that screams silently when no one is around. Have you ever beaten yourself up for not being able to stay positive all the time? Have you ever felt alone in a crowd of people talking about gratitude, but you just wanted to vent without judgment? Have you ever thought that maybe you're vibrating wrong, just because you're feeling drained inside? The truth is that this spiritual burden is a weight that many people carry without realizing it. A golden prison, where the person pretends to be well so as not to attract more pain. But in reality, they are vibrating exactly the pain they are trying to hide. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, responds. Not in disguise, but at the root. Mary was not weak, not even unconscious. She just believed that she needed to be light all the time. But no one can maintain a facade forever. At some point, the body speaks. The mind collapses. The soul screams. And that's where reality breaks, not through punishment, but through excessive internal silence. And maybe you are also experiencing this duality, trying to stay positive when what you really need is to recognize what's alive inside you. Because as long as pain is ignored, it will continue to create. Because, at the end of the day, the universe doesn't punish you. He just answers you exactly. Mary still didn't fully know this, but that awakening was beginning. And the question that arose within her, and perhaps also within you, was, if I can't pretend anymore, then what do I do with all this I feel? That was the question that led her to the most uncomfortable and most liberating truth she had ever heard. This is where the explanation that no one had told Mary begins. That phrase, "You don't vibrate what you say, you vibrate what you feel in silence." It was like a portal that opened. And, little by little, she began to understand one of the most implacable and at the same time fair laws in the universe, the law of vibration. And along with it, a principle as subtle as it is powerful, the mirror principle. Reality, contrary to what many think, does not respond to what you say, not even what you post, not even what you repeat in your morning affirmations. It responds to what vibrates deep within you, even if you don't say it out loud, even if you hide it, even if you suppress it with all your might. The universe does not read words. It reads frequency. Mary said everything is fine, but what she felt, deep down, was a constant fear of failure, a knot of insecurity that came from childhood, an old sadness that was never truly welcomed. And that yes was what vibrated the strongest. That yes was what reality returned. The law of vibration teaches that everything is energy in motion. Thoughts, emotions, memories, beliefs, everything vibrates. And this vibration attracts experiences that are in the same tune, not for punishment, but by correspondence. The universe has no morals. He doesn't judge. He just reflects, exactly like a mirror. And here comes the mirror principle. External reality is nothing more than a reflection of what happens internally. If you look at your life and see repetition of pain, cycles of scarcity, abandonment, frustration, it's not because you are being punished. It's because something inside you, perhaps unconscious, is sending this signal all the time. The clearest metaphor for this is simple. It's like trying to erase your reflection in the mirror without changing your face. You can wipe, cover the mirror, try to fool others with a pretty image, but if what's on your face is pain, the mirror will show pain. Only when you truly change, when you look at yourself face to face, without masks, does the reflection change. Mary began to realize that all the failures she experienced were actually warnings. Reality was not against her. Reality was trying to show where she herself was betraying herself. She said, "I deserve the best," but vibrated, "I am not enough." I said, "I am abundant," but I felt guilty every time I thought about money. She said, "I'm healed," but avoided looking at the wounds that still hurt. And the universe, obediently, just reflected all of this. The biggest shock was understanding that, when trying to force positivity, Mary wasn't vibrating light. She was vibrating fear. Fear of feeling, fear of being rejected, fear of failing. And this fear, even silent, was a constant vibrational request. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, responded. She began to wonder, if my life is reflecting all of this, what am I still feeling and trying to hide? And it was exactly this question that led Mary to see the real turning point. Something she would never have imagined was shaping every detail of her reality. Mary was not a negative person. It never was. She really wanted the best. She sought to grow, help others, evolve spiritually. The problem was not her intention. The real blockage was in the incongruity, in the disconnect between what she showed and what she really felt. On the outside, the energy of light. Inside, the vibration of fear. It was as if two versions of herself were in conflict. And this silent conflict was what kept reality stuck. She thought she needed to hide her pain to deserve love. That would only be heard by the universe if you were vibrating gratitude, even when everything in your body was begging for acceptance. But the truth is that repression is not light. Denial is not faith. And the universe, it doesn't reward those who pretend. He responds to those who vibrate with truth. Vibrating high is not about always smiling. It's about being whole. And Mary wasn't there. The turning point came when she, for the first time, decided to stop resisting what she felt. She cried without guilt. He wrote everything he carried, without censorship. He looked in the mirror and didn't try to correct himself. It was just seen. If you heard, he welcomed himself. And there, in that space of raw truth, something began to change. Not in the outside world, but inside her. The vibration began to reorganize not because she became perfect, but because she stopped fighting herself. And when that happened, little things around started to transform. Messages came in from people she thought had drifted away. An old client reappeared with an unexpected proposal. A difficult conversation was resolved effortlessly. Nothing magical in the Hollywood sense, but deeply real. It was as if the universe said, "Yes, now I can hear you, because now you're being you." It was at that moment that Mary understood something that turned everything upside down. What was blocking her manifestations was not the absence of positivity, but rather the absence of authenticity. It was an attempt to look good, when in reality he just needed to allow himself to feel. She wasn't vibrating low because she was sad. It was vibrating out of alignment for pretending it wasn't. True spirituality does not demand perfection. It requires presence. And presence only exists when you have the courage to find yourself in the now, whether it is joyful or painful. Mary realized that all the time she was seeking to be the light, she was ignoring the shadow. But the light only truly shines when it recognizes the darkness it carries with it. She wasn't weak. It never was. She just needed to stop running away from herself. And when he stopped, When he finally chose the truth over the image, everything around him began to mirror that choice. Because in the end, the universe doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to your energy, even when you try to hide it. And now tell me, have you also tried to look good just to avoid attracting more pain? Have you held back your tears, swallowed your scream, and put on a smile to maintain the right vibe? If at any point this story touched something that lives silently inside you, comment below with the word true. This word carries a special strength and could be the beginning of your vibrational shift. Leave a like if this video made you reflect. This helps spread this type of content to more people who, like you, are ready to break out of the prison of false positivity. And of course, subscribe to the channel here, because this journey is just beginning. Each video is a mirror, and maybe the next one will reveal something you haven't had the courage to look at yet. And if this topic moved you, there is a whole sequence of stories and revelations like this waiting for you. The complete playlist on this subject is now appearing on the screen. Real cases explained by universal laws. Each video delves into a different aspect of the mind, vibration, and creation of reality. Watch in order, really dive in, because maybe the next story will reveal exactly what's missing for your change to begin.